Oh,
Hey Megan,
hi.
it is so amazing that we decided to start this YouTube page. And before we get started, I just want to say that I'm Trisha. I am with Trisha Nickel Talent Consulting. And while I was not working, I met Megan at a part time gig at Mercedes Benz in Santa Monica. And she has been an inspiration from the jump. Not only did she train me and like get me not to try to cut shortcuts on the job, we became instant friends. And she's a go getter, she's a grinder. She is from LA, and I love her umsfa and her practicality, and we just clicked. We're born, like I said, I'm born July 5th, she's born July 6th, but we have that what,
Hmm.
10-year gap, no, almost 20-year gap
Yeah.
in age. And
Yeah, because
so
I'm 31. So,
yeah, and I'll be 50. And so the differences that we have from different generations, but also we can relate because we're both uh, melanated, um, is beneficial and has helped me like in my family. And she'll let you fill you in on me and and how she feels about me. But yeah, so take the mic,
um,
Megan.
thank, well, thank you, Trisha. I'm very humble from your introduction. But no,
She
this is
didn't
my
pay
good
me.
friend Trisha. This is my good friend Trisha. She has been a rock for me in my hard times, and I appreciate her beyond measures, only if she knows. She is a mother of three. Three beautiful children. Her oldest two, well, all of them model pretty much her children, and her youngest has been on TV. And so, she came out here from Maryland. She's an
Yay,
East
Maryland
Coast
girl.
baby. Surprised I didn't meet her when I was living in Maryland, because I feel like that would have brought us even like a whole different
Right,
spectrum.
like a 360.
Uh, right, yeah, because in Maryland she was on a whole nother journey, and she moved out here from LA to help her children pursue their dreams with acting, singing, and she is phenomenal with that. She definitely has guided her children to the right path. They be getting booked, okay? Let me tell you. But yeah, that's Trisha. She does her thing. Don't be making that face. You do. They do their thing. They get
Well, I
booked
have to be
for their
humble
gigs.
because, you know,
I,
it,
okay, okay, okay. But it's true. You
right.
you do the work.
It comes with a lot of trial and error, which I'm learning that everything that is worth it does come with a lot of trial and error, which I'm going to make this be the opening for our talk. And we just wanted to jump on because it's been like striking us. It's so profound in life right now in our relationships with men.
Hmm.
To
Yes.
me, it's just a small fraction of how society is anyway. And so we want to talk about um, what do we want to talk about, Megan? What we interpret when men don't communicate. What we
Yes.
interpret
That,
when men
yeah, what we interpret men don't
don't
communicate.
communicate. And I have to throw out there that no communication is communication too,
Hmm.
right?
I agree. I feel like it has a lot to do with your upbringing, I feel like, also
For sure. For
with
sure.
communication. If you aren't used to your parents communicating, and you see them just like going at it, it's just
Right.
like that's how you communicate.
Right.
But in all actuality, it's
Right. So Megan, let me
So,
ask you a, let me just let's just talk. And I'm just gonna ask you a question. Um, what
mhm.
what is going on in your relationship sector right now without saying like names, or what communication issues are you having? Like, are you in
Right
communication with
now we
somebody?
are lacking. Yeah, we're super lacking communication. Like the communication, it's there, but then it's hot and cold, so to speak. If I want to use like the easiest terms to describe it, it's very hot and cold.
Mm-hmm.
One moment the communication is amazing, and then the next moment you'd be like crickets, and it's just like okay. And then in my mind, I'm like, well, maybe you're just not at that into me,
Right.
um,
And so
because
that's
but
what you feel is being communicating when conversations are hot and cold. You're feeling like, well, you're hot and cold about me, or you're just not that into
hmm
me. Whereas though, if I were
hmm
to think like a man, like Steve Harvey says we have to do, act like a act like a woman,
yeah,
think like a man. He
act like a
said,
woman but think like a man. Yeah.
yeah. So what is really happening, what's really happening, because maybe you could tell me better than I could try to explain what's going
Well,
on
I
with the
know.
hot and cold. Let's make some assumptions because they make assumptions about us all the time. What's happening when
Very
they're
true. Very true.
what
So
is
let's.
happening when they're running hot and cold? Like, do you like me? Do you not like me? Are you scared of me? Did I do something that you don't like and you don't want to commit, or are you just insecure? And that is a topic because, like you said, we did not have those role models for relationships in our households. And I come from the 70s, and a little bit of my backstory is my parents were divorced by the time I was three, at least three. And I was raised by grandparents who were old fashioned, and I saw a lot of them fussing. My grandmother was the matriarch of the family, so basically what she said went. But that didn't make my grandfather's actions do what she said all the time. And so I understand
Right.
insecurity when you don't understand. And unlike some women, I run hot and cold too. Uh-oh, that's a sign. It's
That's
true.
not my
See,
bad
I was
girl.
telling the truth. I run hot and cold too. Like, I could cut you off and not speak to you and go into my bubble and create whatever I want to do, because I was used to
Yeah, but
being
also
alone a
too,
lot.
you have yeah, and also too, I think for some people, it has a lot to do with your placements as well. Like I have a Cancer sun, and she has a Cancer sun. I have a Virgo moon, and she has a Sag moon.
Right,
Sagittarius people are known to be very introverted, and they're known to being very to themselves and known to communicate when they feel like it.
right.
So sometimes it correlates to that too, as well as you internally.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then also too with our upbringing. So with my upbringing, I grew up. My mother and my father were there. They broke up when I was 6 months. They were never married. They were never in any type of relationship. They were living together, and then they broke up when I was 6 months old.
Right.
So my father was primarily, I you would say he was there, but he really wasn't. If you really want to get technical, he
Mm-hmm.
was a holiday father.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I really didn't see my dad or speak to my dad. He felt that I should
Reach out
contact
to him.
him, reach out to him, and that's how he felt. My mom was there, but I feel like my mom was finding herself still because she had me at 21.
Right.
So I still feel like my mom was still exploring the world and exploring her sexuality and, you know, getting to know her as an individual.
Right.
So my grandmother on my mother's side pretty much had me majority of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, so to speak, my grandmother and my grandfather, they were married. They had been
Right.
married for at this time for I think like 20 years. And I would see them. And then my other example would be my other grandparents. that were married, and they basically, one passed away and then the other one passed away and never got, they just went
We're
and passed
gone.
away and went back to each other, like that type of situation. So, and I never saw any of my grandparents have arguments. I never saw or heard any disagreements. I never saw any of that type of stuff growing up. I did see my mom with her relationships attracting people who were emotionally unavailable. And I've come to realize this as I've gotten older, that we tend to sometimes attract people that are not emotionally available. So when that happens, we tend to date that way too as well, because we see our parents attracting it.
Right.
So, or
I'm
my
glad you
mom
brought
would
up
attract
dating.
someone who's a, yeah, and like, or who is physically or verbally abusive, like there's things
Right.
that too as well. Like, so it's like it's all a part of our upbringing. But my mom's upbringing was a little bit of violence. My mother did see my grandmother get verbally abused by my grandfather, which I never saw. He physically abused my grandmother, which I never saw. So
And the
and my grandmother
trauma.
stayed with him, and
But
yeah,
your
and she
mom
didn't
suffered
leave. She
trauma.
stayed with him for, yeah, my mom for sure suffered trauma because, she was in a relationship and this person like got mad with my mother, and like my mom took the cell phone, was going through the phone, which is an insecurity thing, which you should never do. It's very insecure. You should never do it. I've done it myself, but
I've
I'm
done
glad
it.
that I did it because it took me out of a situation.
Right. I
I've done
let.
it, and I'm
I,
and I'm okay that I did it because it took me out of a situation that I should have never probably entertained for so long as
well,
I
if you
did.
don't have anything to hide, then you don't have to hide your cell phone in a relationship. So let's just go back to before cell phones
True,
came
true, but
about. And if you got caught, you got caught. If you washing somebody's clothes and there's a phone number
yes,
in there, you got caught. What we do, I
yep,
find, is we pacify these excuses. And in communication, we do it too because even if people are should not say certain things to us and they know, but because society is doing it, they think that they can get away with it. But really, if you were born in the 70s, 80s, you know that we didn't that's not the normal communication to be verbally abusive to somebody.
mm-hmm,
And we have been around
mm-hmm,
enough friendship structures. We've been institutionalized in school
mm-hmm,
systems. We've been to grocery stores,
mm-hmm,
and the norm is not to talk to anybody outside of a kind manner. But in the
mm-hmm,
home is when people let their hair down and think that they can abuse their
mm-hmm,
partner. Or in relationships is a perfect place where, like,
mm-hmm.
oh, I'm going to say what I want to say because she likes me.
Not just relationship, friendships too as well, because you could date a friend and they could be abusing you verbally by convincing you to stay in toxic situations.
Oh, yeah. Friendships. That's to me.
Because your friends, some ships, it's the ships period. Ships
Right.
period can be
Relationships,
either great
friendships.
communication or situationships,
Right.
all the
Which
ships.
I don't know if we can bring situationships to bring clarity uh, to how we interpret how what we interpret when men communicate, because we've already agreed to um, lowering our standards in situationships. But that's another
Mm-hmm.
topic. But we
Yeah.
have. But unless men communicate honestly, we don't know if we're in a situationship or not. And that's really,
Yeah, that is very true because,
yeah,
yeah, that's very true. Because
what
men sometimes don't
they're being slick.
express properly. Is that what I would say? Yeah, they like use
Well,
word. They choose their wording wisely. I feel
right.
like.
Yeah. To hide
Yeah.
insecurities, or if they're just not really ready to be in a commitment and they are seeing other people, they just don't say, well, I'm dating right now. Because dating has stepped off the scene. Because now everything, we live in the microwave society where you want things heated up and ready to eat in 2 minutes instead of dating,
Yeah.
and we said we were going to talk about that a little bit because what are some of the what is dating, Megan?
Okay, so my opinion of dating, this is just my opinion. This isn't technical, but this is my opinion. My opinion of dating is taking the time out to get to know the individual for who they are. So I would technically speaking, I feel like you should really date someone for at least 6 months because they're gonna be on their best behavior for
Right,
the
you
beginning.
date, right.
Yeah, to date. Like, to be honest, like, we're always going to put our best foot forward. We're always going to say the right things. We're always going to do the right things, wear the right clothes. We're always going to make sure that we're together. And then what happens is that the communication is there.
Mm-hmm.
We communicate with the person we're dating with. We let them know, our standards for communication, or
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we don't. And that could be our fault too, as well as women,
Well,
that we don't set the standard for communication.
I
Like,
I'm
we
so completely
allow them
guilty.
to, yeah, like we allow the communication to not be par to what we deserve. So then, therefore, the men feel like, well, I am communicating because I said X, Y, and Z.
Right,
And then you're like, yeah, but that's not really communicating.
right. I realize that I run into relationships that I'm doing more introspective observation of your actions before
Mhm.
I even communicate anything with you. And I do attract people who do tell me the truth when they do communicate
That's a
with
good
me.
thing.
It's
That
a
is a
good
great thing.
thing, um, but uh, I don't set expectations of people because I feel like things are happening so quickly. When you do meet someone who has an interest in you, it's just like, bam. And usually I'm more like, oh, what do I do with this person who showing interest in me? Like, do I, what should I do? You know, instead of me coming up with questions to ask, like, well, based off of, because I feel like they've told me so much that I didn't get a chance to be like, well, what do you do for a living? Where do you live? Like, just basic stuff. And I almost feel like those are not the questions that you ask when someone is interested in you.
Really? Why?
I don't know. I
I
don't
ask all
know.
those questions. I'm sorry. I have a Virgo moon, and that moon comes out and be like, so
Right. And my Sagittarius moon is like, what are we going to do? Where are we going?
yes.
And how
Yeah.
can you entertain me in this interaction currently, presently, right now? I'm not a
Right.
very like, oh, let me check and see how much money you make, or oh, let me.
Oh, no, 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 no. I'm not checking money boxes, because just because you got money don't mean you're gonna treat me any better.
Right,
And we both know that.
right. Um, and really, I think now that I have gotten older and I've been married, divorced, and dated, and yeah, I realized that I probably wasn't doing it the right way.
Well, is it really like, I don't so when it comes to dating, you do have to communicate. Like, I feel like there's no way around it.
Right. So I'm not good at the whole like, and I know because Sagittarius moon is masculine that I'm
Right.
thinking with my masculine brain, which is like I'm not really good at planning. So I can't like
Mhm.
I don't know where all the restaurants are, and I'm not into like, oh, I gotta look cute for some other human being. other than me already naturally thinking I am attractive anyway. But these are all the things that men think about women. Oh, she gonna wanna eat. And they're
Yeah, what you
counting.
want to
And they're
like?
counting they're counting. I feel like they're
Yeah,
counting.
they
Like
are.
that's a
I
hundred
think they even
dollars.
like keep a
Oh,
tally on how much they spend because when you get into an argument, the first thing they love to say, "I spent all this money on you, and you acting like," and
right, right.
and I'm like,
And so I've built up a fear and a resistance against men, period, period,
really?
period, because I get under the attack of like, oh, she looks like this, so I have to treat her like this. You know, her expectations are this because of the way she looks or the way she communicates or what she has established for herself already. And so um, that's totally not who I am. I can't really have a real relationship because of the superficiality of it all, which
So the
is
men that you
because of
have,
what men think,
right? So the men
what
that you
society
have dated,
said.
yeah. So with the men that you have dated, how have they communicated with you? Like, how well would you, if you had a scale,
When
just
I
the
ask those questions, they shut
Mhm.
down. When I
Really?
ask, or after I've discovered that there's a blockage of the communication between
Hmm.
us, and I tell you what
Hmm.
it is, and I tell you that it bothered me, it's a complete shutdown or a complete ghost because no man
Do you
wants to
think
be
that?
nitpicked. They don't like to be
Mhm.
nitpicked. They don't like to be told what to do. They don't like, and all of these stigmas come from old information because clearly we are more alike than we are different. We both have these same emotions. We both have feelings. We both are vulnerable, and we both now at this point are beyond vulnerable. We are fragile, you know, and therefore the communication is, might as well be asking somebody that you already had sex with, how's the weather? That's how it's not connecting, right?
No, it's not. I
It's
just feel
not.
like, because
Timing is
I,
off.
yeah.
Timing's
Yeah.
terrible. And that's because
And I feel like with COVID, it's gotten worse. I feel like you're starting to realize who can communicate and who can't communicate properly
well,
because you
who
have
is
to
wearing a
like
mask and who is not wearing a
communicate.
mask
Oh
too.
my God.
Right. But I'm not
Because,
talking
yeah,
about,
but,
the mask that we were demanded to wear. I'm talking
right.
about like, because when before COVID, we were playing a game, but now we had time to think about who the hell we really are and what we really really want. And like, I don't pay attention to my value. I'm just going to be honest. Like,
Really?
I don't. I just am always a goer, I'm a
Mm.
thinker, but I'm a goer and I'm a doer. So when it comes down to like slowing me down to wine and dine me, I'm probably trying to like start a business plan, or, because that's where society has us right now. We're always overworked. We're under, we don't rest enough. Now we're getting back into our health. I'm sure like our aging process is going to slow down because we have that self-love, we're taking care of ourselves now. But now how do we show that we do value ourselves like I always did? But I was speeding. I can't. I'm tired when I get home after driving in LA back and forth. Like, who cares? And plus, dating in LA is not dating. Dating in LA is speed dial something.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you on that just because of me living on the East Coast and seeing how it is out there and
Yeah.
compared to
We have fun.
out here. Like, I don't, I feel like sometimes men take it like as a joke. I feel like that's how I'm interpreting it, so that
Right.
they give communication because they feel like, well, I'm not fully invested in you, so why do I have to open up about how I feel?
Right.
And and then I feel like what happens is, or there's men that attract women that only want a physical relationship, and then there's the
Right.
men that want a relationship, and then they attract only the women that want a physical relationship only. So then you don't have to communicate with them. You
Right.
can hit them up whenever you want, basically, to, you know, have
Right.
your fun and then go about your day. And like that's the really only time you communicate. So I
Right.
feel like when like a man needs someone who meets checks the marks, because men have a list too. I have to
Yeah.
say I feel like men have a list,
For sure.
and I don't want to say that they don't, because I feel like they do. I feel like a man has a list of what their needs, their wants, their
Hmm.
desires, and who they want to be with, and
And if
when
and
they're
if
ready, they
and
have
when
a
you
list. Also,
don't,
have
they will
to.
try to mold you to it. I mean, if they like what they
Right.
see, and they'll work on that. And sometimes that can be some of the ghosting, I think. Like, well, let me see what her I see opportunity in her. Let me sit back and watch her fulfill it, and then I'll get committed to her.
But see, that's the thing. You're playing a game.
Right.
Like I think that's a playing a game. Like if you if you know your communication is subpar and you're a terrible communicator, then that's something I feel like internally you have to work on with yourself, because it's just one of those things. Like I'm a single
Hmm.
mom. I have, my son's father that I have to communicate with, and I have to work on my communication and delivery because he always is so like, well, I'm not. And I'm just like, why are you getting so
Defensive.
defensive? Yeah. So it's like, and I feel like men also too have this wall up because of their emotions,
Right.
because, like prior to earlier the conversation we were having, like like you said, like men don't have emotions anymore because we suppress
Well, their
them.
dad. We didn't do it. We didn't do it
Society, I'm
all.
sorry,
Right.
society has suppressed men for not
Right.
having feelings.
Right.
Yes.
And it's very damaging. And so now I'm going to go back to us being so fragile again.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we put out a shell of the macho ness of like, oh, I'm hard, you didn't break me, you can't hurt me, because clearly it continues to add to the wound. Even if you go into your next relationship, you're going to play the same games, you're going to do the same patterning. And when will you ever grow in a relationship if you continue to play games? And it
Yeah, but
starts
also
with
too, I feel like,
communication.
yeah, I feel like, but men communicate when they want to.
But
They
they
communicate when
also
they want
say
to,
one thing, Megan, and then
and
they
then do another.
right, because I'm sure you had I know how you communicate because I listen to you and I respect you. And so I know that when you say what you mean, you say it. I know that
Mm-hmm.
about you. And I
Very.
I love to pride my life in being that way too. Although, like we talked about earlier, because I've been in the world a long time, I do know how to uh, speak double tongue. Not that it's good, but we have to first address the problem before we can.
Mm-hmm.
So you telling me that you make clear, concrete directives on how you want your relationship to be when you like somebody.
Oh yeah.
And I know that you do because you told me. And so and I watched you set out into a relationship with that very mindset. So
Mm-hmm.
I know that's accurate. So when somebody strays away from what you said after they agreed to, yeah, we could do this, like I want a commitment. I am interested in being a business partner in a relationship to make sure that we are a comfortable couple. I love loyalty, you know, so let's agree. Let's set up some dates to see and continue to build on this what we said we wanted together.
Right.
I get that. But as you go through, you might see some things you don't like. Now be then you have to be honest. And I think the problem is nobody's honest. And we don't trust in this society anymore. And I understand why we don't trust in this society anymore because society has failed us.
Yeah, and I feel like also too, the people we associate ourselves with fell us too.
Right.
So if we say, for instance, we communicated something to our significant other and then they agree with it and they don't follow through, and you're like, well, what? Like, what just
Right.
happened? Like, we just had a
Well, what
perfect,
happened?
I just feel like what happens is that men get scared, I feel like, or they feel overwhelmed. And instead of saying like, you're asking for things that I've always wanted and it scares me,
Right.
or say
Or
like,
do they just want
well,
their cake and eat it too? Do they want to
I
be
mean,
the
there are men like
man
that.
and the
I
woman
mean,
in the relationship? Do they want
there
the
are men
whole
out there that are
spectrum?
like that. But there are men out there that do, like, for prime example, there was a someone I was dealing with at a time period. He was very upfront and honest with me, and I applaud him for his communication because he communicated immaculately,
Mm-hmm.
immaculately.
Right.
We were not on the same page, so
Mm-hmm.
therefore I dismissed myself because
Now, did you
we were
honestly
on the
dismiss
same.
yourself or did you ghost them?
No, well, okay, the old me ghosted him. The new me would communicate. The old me ghosted him. Like,
Right. And
he
this
kind of
is
knew that
right.
yeah,
Right.
he kind of knew because he was like, "Who are you dating now?" And I'm like, "We weren't even dating. You made that very clear. Like, why are you even jealous? Because
Right.
you made it very clear that you didn't want to date." And
Yeah. And
then
this is
come
the
full
weird thing
circle
that you have to
years
deal
later.
with
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
at first they're not interested or it appears to us because of the way that they communicate, but then when we move forward is when they want to be possessive, or they want
Yes.
now they want to invest, because
Mhm.
I can be because I'm always serious. If I like you, I like you. I'm not gonna like fake it, because it's rare that I even
Right.
like people, first of all. And if I see something in you or you attract something in me, I'm gonna want to pursue it. Sagittarius moon.
Mhm.
However, um, I'm still
Mhm.
shy. I still don't want to ask you those questions. I want you to do the work too. And that's a lot of men's, because of the damage that they've endured trying in previous relationships, they are numb a lot of the times
Mhm.
and they only want
Mhm.
to show you their best foot forward, but because they're so damaged, it doesn't last long, so it's easy to see.
No.
It's so easy
And then
to
I think
see
sometimes some men don't ever heal
because they go
from
to the next relationship
their,
right away,
but not even that. I don't think that they even
have the
know how to
tools to
heal.
heal. Right.
Yeah, like, I don't think that men sometimes know how to really heal. Like, say for instance, if you're a man, right, and you're in a relationship with someone that you're in love with so deeply, and then and you have been loyal to them, faithful to them, and
Hmm.
just above and beyond, and you're doing everything that she's asking you to do, and she cheats on you. And then you're like
I
in
find
shock
that
because
I
it's
find
never.
that so hard to believe that
But I'm
you're
telling
doing
you, there's
everything, because it's hard to do everything in a relationship
well,
to
okay, I
keep,
won't say
and
everything.
you
There may
can't
be a
you
few
can't
things that
possibly do
may fall
everything
short.
right. And now and when I really get to believe it, like relationships have to have a place for growth. And I think we put so much pressure
Oh
on the
yeah.
other person making us happy that we don't give ourselves any space to grow. And God knows
Hmm.
though, like it depends, like again, how you were raised. Because even though my parents were not in my life, my grandmother instilled things like education and, you know, completing a task and being not a liar and not a thief. You know, some basic things, some basic human qualities that have stayed with me, you know, and God forbid, of course, yes, if you tick me off, I have messed up before. I'm not going to even lie, you know, the old me. But we're all trying to bring in a better us because we know that uh, a better society starts from you individually. And I
Oh
love,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I love what you said, like the old me, because yeah, there. It's
Hmm.
fair to have an old you and where you're striving now. And I think when we're talking about men, as long as you're not out here continuously keeping on trying to just sleep with everybody, because that causes toxicity. You know, you cannot
Yeah, but
just
sometimes men don't know how to commit because they didn't see commitment. So that's what they do. That's what that's their way
they
of
they saw
of
commitment on TV. This is the problem. We will give so many excuses for men. And I just told you, we all have been institutionalized in some way. We know not to lie. You get
Mhm.
locked, not to steal. You get locked up. Like we have repercussions for the things that we do. So why do you think it's okay to do that to somebody you say you like? It's not okay. If you can't
Because there's
handle a
never respect.
person outside of yourself, leave people alone. Don't damage another
But there's also
people.
too people don't have real consequences for their actions. How okay, so you lose me, that's your consequence. For you, that may be nothing. You
Right,
know, losing me is maybe nothing. But you may not feel it in that moment. But like I'm not
yeah,
trying to gloat or anything, but there's men out there that I've dated in the past that would love to date me again. And
right,
9 times out of 10, they'll probably do it the right way this time because
right,
they saw what they could have
right,
had. And then they're like, oh, damn, like,
right. Well, just the
I don't
fact
like
that
that
you don't want to
anymore.
hurt, why would you want to go through life continuously with broken relationships? That means that there's a
Because
problem.
they've been hurt. Like I said, this stems back from the healing. Men don't have a safe
Right,
space for them to also to
right,
heal their
right.
traumas, their wounds,
And
they're looked
yeah,
at weak. If a man
I know.
cries in front of a female, some female are gonna think he's weak because he's crying, because he has emotion, and that's not
I have
fair
that.
to.
I have that. But it is because
So
um
you
nine times out
belittle
of
men because
ten
they have
I feel like you're manipulating the situation when you cry. But
not
I
necessarily.
also feel that way about women who cry to try to keep a man. It
Oh yeah, for them.
our emotions um they don't have to hurt, or you don't they don't have to hurt for you to explain yourself.
No,
You know, you're not a
no.
baby
But I
anymore.
feel
You
like
have a
it doesn't
vocabulary.
have to be necessarily.
Huh?
It could be like they're crying because their grandmother passed away or their mom passed away. I'm not speaking
That's
in the
not, oh
sense
yeah.
of
Well,
them
people
losing.
don't look, I don't know
Yeah,
too
I'm not
many
necessarily.
people who are mean, who look down on people when it comes to death. But when,
You'd be surprised.
I mean, you're
Don't
right.
be fooled, sis.
I
You'd be
can't be fooled
surprised. You'd be surprised.
nowadays.
Someone's like, I'm your man. Why are you crying? Like, what is wrong
But
with you? I get it
I
sometimes.
know people, I know
Um,
men who cry because they didn't they didn't have their they chose not to raise their children. and now they feel some type of way about it.
Really?
Yeah. And
But that's
so,
some internal thing that they heal from, because that's an internal issue if you think about it,
right.
because was there for them in their life, and now they're regretting not
But
being there for
sometimes
their
your father
children, and
was
it's
in your life, but you just didn't like how they were in your life. You know, we will pick and choose
mm-hmm,
anything to make it
mm-hmm.
a wound so we can get attention. Let's just be honest. At the
Yep,
end of the day, we all are
that's
act like babies. We all just want to be satisfied. And this is why we even step out of ourselves to have a relationship anyway. Like we feel we need somebody else to help us. And I think
I
when
don't
we get
think that.
outside of that, yeah, help us with our pleasure. Help us have a better
Yeah, I
life
would say
than we
help with
already
this.
have. I'm not
Hmm.
saying
I
it's
feel
not
like
right or
with
wrong.
yeah, I don't feel like with relationships everything has to be physical. I feel like you can add to,
Right,
like you will have a go-getter personality. So if your husband is the, well, I'll go get the money, you could just you I'll go get the money, you do what you do with it, like, and you're
right.
gonna go and flip it and make more money, so everyone has something to bring to the table when it comes to relationship. Like me, I'm the nurturer. That is my thing that I bring to the table, is that I'm a nurturer. If you have children or if you have a kid, I'm going to be the nurturer to the
You're more than a nurturer because you have direction.
oh.
And so this is what people are lacking. There's no vision. There's no direction. And so
Mm.
a woman,
So you don't think men have a vision?
some men, but it's usually um, it becomes very routine, so they never fulfill it. Like we'll take, I'm not going to say cut corners, but we'll take drastic measures to make sure that our vision is manifested. It doesn't matter if I mean, it ain't not all of us. I'll speak for myself. It doesn't matter if that person doesn't want to fulfill that vision with me. I'm going to fulfill that vision whether I communicate it or don't communicate it. And men today, they're all about like, oh, I got to get my money. So there's no vision for
Yeah.
family. There's no vision for holidays in the Mediterranean with their spouse and children. Like they just, not all of them, because there's some G's out here who have been doing it, but it's not a practice. So if you don't practice it, you expect the partner, if they want to do that and include you, to do that instead of working together. Just like y'all work together to pay the bills, you have to work together to create this relationship. Or if not,
Yeah. And
you're
I
gonna keep ghosting people or hot and cold communication because you're not ready to expand in this area because you are still nursing your own wounds, your own insecurities. Like, damn, that girl is bomb. How am I going to fit her into my not so perfect life? And I don't
and
know
I
if it's
think
perfect
that
or
men
not.
have to think out that you're perfect, because you're perfect the way you are. You get what
Period.
I'm saying? Like, no one's ever perfect. No one's gonna ever
Right.
be perfect. You can get your face done, body done, the gluing
Right.
things the men doing. You can get your thing expanded.
And
You
still
can
won't
do
be able
all
to
those things.
communicate. So I can't
Still,
enjoy you. I can't enjoy
mm-hmm.
being around you if you cannot communicate. There's no joy in
Yeah,
it.
because yeah, but have you ever thought of it this way, that even sometimes with dating, that the communication is terrible, and then when you move in with them, the communication just seems like to go a whole 360, like where they communicate even like way better, and you're just like looking at them like, why did you make dating so hard? Like,
No,
did you ever
no,
think about that?
no, because that never happened. Because I've never lived with anybody except for a husband. And yes, dating was great. And then when I did move in, communication was not as great.
It was the opposite.
It was the opposite. And finances play a
Mm,
big part when you are married, um, how successful your relationship
I have to
is.
agree with you with mine. I have to agree with you with my marriage. It was the same way when we were married. Like, I feel like his communication with me when we weren't living together was great, and then like after we moved in, and
Because it's their
it was
ownership.
just
We're
like,
still treated like property. Like,
yeah,
well, I take care of
yeah,
you. You know, I love you. I don't have to do nothing for you or
right.
spend time with you, you
For
know? And
you. Why
so,
would I disrespect you? Like, oh, I didn't tell you, don't worry about it. I took care of it. And then come to find out you didn't take care of it. So then we have to clean up the mess. And then it's just like, if
and
you would have
somebody
said
wants
something
to
from the beginning, like,
somebody wants to blame the other person too. I notice a lot of blame,
mhm,
shame, shaming in communication. Like,
yeah,
you ain't all that, or you know, go do something better. And I'm like, well, if I had the support, I would go do something better. But you know, I had to endure
right.
being degraded. You know, while
Hmm.
I'm on my
And I
rise.
just, yeah, I just feel like with communication with men, I feel like for them to really want, and also too, men do what they want to do when they want to do it.
Right.
So if a man really, I really truly, if a man really and truly wants you or wants to deal with you, wants to have you in their life, they're going to do everything in their
Yes.
power
Just like I
that they want
said,
to
I
do it.
just like I have that capability too. Like, it might take a long time, and then again, it might not. Depends on the tools I use to achieve it. And so that's what men do too. I think that they manipulate by conversation to keep us in a place, a placeholder for what it is that they want to achieve with us when they get ready on their time, how they want to. And when
Yeah, and I don't
we
feel like
stop,
that's fair. I
it's
don't feel
not
like that's
fair.
fair.
Well, and then
I feel like that's not. I feel like that's not
it's a
fair. If men,
it's
because
a
I've
man's
been in a situation
world,
like
but
that.
it would be nothing without a woman. And so once I think a
Oh yeah,
mature man
and I feel like
realizes that, what?
why? I just feel like that's what men seem to forget is like if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't even be here
Right.
to
And
well. And it's
we beat them over the head with respecting
mhm,
us. And so the ones like you and I who have a voice and who understand our value, and also understand we're not perfect, but we are to be appreciated and valued, are yeah, they don't, I forgot what I was going to say, but they don't want to work with us because
mm-mm,
we know who we are, and there's no room for them to put us down. There's no room for them to change us. And whether it was a stereotype that women are always trying to change men, is not always the case. And it's not always the case that women are the naggers and the whiners, because I know whining and nagging and men who have temper tantrums. So we have to stop the stereotypes in order,
yeah,
and just accept people as human beings and communicate. Like, I like you, but I would like to figure more of you out, you know?
right. Or I
I don't want to rush into anything. Let's
right,
just be friends.
right. I like you, and I know this can go somewhere, but I gotta get myself together.
Right. And in the process of getting yourself together, please know that there are people out here who understand that and can be just like randomly stay in touch with you without playing a game of like, oh, I called and hung up, but I called you by mistake, but I really didn't call you by mistake, or anything like that. You know what I
Well, not
mean?
even. It's just like, or I saw your text messages, and then I just choose to not answer you.
Right.
Like,
Or,
and I'm just like, or I hit you up, or I hit you up because I want to take you out, and then I take you out and then we have a great time and then I don't hear from you. And you're like, wait, I thought we had a great time. Like the vibe was
Right.
there. Like,
Right. And there's certain people who do know when the vibe is good. So,
yeah. And I'm like, y'all not dumb.
right.
Y'all not.
And I'm not dumb. I know that I'm an enjoyable person and that you had an excellent time. So
Exactly.
now what's your problem? And that's why I'm
Right.
like, I don't want to babysit. Like my kids are grown. I don't want another problem. I don't want another distraction. I don't want another false start.
Misinterpretation.
I
Yeah.
don't
And I
want,
feel like
yeah.
not this is not to bash men, to be honest. It's not to bash men. It's only to just to see like how us women look at, and some men know what they're doing. Men are not dumb. They know what they're doing. They
Yeah. And
know.
what's sad is a lot of them have picked up, unfortunately, on from female traits.
Yeah, because
Be-
also too, I feel like a lot of times it stems from them being hurt. It stems from
Their mothers being
men
hurt.
not learning. Their mom's being hurt. The mom is treating them like they boyfriends, and
And
you
then
gotta
they see what
treat
their dad
your son
did.
like that's your boyfriend because your son is not your boyfriend.
Right. And they see what the men in their families did and they emulate and imitate, but then their their heart is wrecked because you're not
Mhm.
getting intimately emotionally fulfilled, you
Or
know.
there's men that didn't have their mothers there, and they don't know how to really treat a woman because
Right.
they didn't have that energy of a female present in the home.
Right.
So, or when they did finally get it was later on in life, so they were just like dismissive to it or just like doing whatever
And
they wanted to
I
do.
noticed because I have sons that a lot of males, uh, I'm not going to say they don't like their mother, but they don't want to see their mother as a human being. They want to see them, they put them in a fishbowl. Like, you're my mother. You have to be here to do this and do this and do this and do that. And that's the same pressure that men put on women too. Like,
Hmm.
you're supposed to cook, you're supposed to clean, you're supposed to raise the children and make sure they're educated so that I can do what I want to do and I can look good because that's your role and I'm the provider, you know. And that's okay
Yeah.
in a world where you're a billionaire and I can be paid for my services as a woman, but I don't get paid to just be a woman. That's my God given
No.
gift. Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
gift. It could be your
Hmm.
gift. But society has told you that you have to be this man in order to have a woman, you know.
And I feel like that's kind of like a little like unfair. So I just
Go ahead.
go ahead. You have a
Oh,
question?
I had this. I wrote this comment down. I said, communication today doesn't build community, and the word commune is in both community and
Hmm.
communication. And if you look at the demise of our community right now, I wonder is because we're not communicating with one another. And
And
look,
that's what I'm saying. I feel like
in my
COVID has
family,
brought.
nobody talked to us either. You know, like my sex
Mhm.
education from my grandmother was a kiss is an upper persuasion to a lower invasion. So, what am I supposed to do? Like, I can't kiss. But I could
Mm.
have been just talking. That would have been good. I should have just talked. I should have asked those questions like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I have questions because I'm not playing any games anymore. I have a child to consider, and my child's with me 24/7. So, if even the guy I'm gonna potentially marry or be in a relationship with, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna meet me with my son. So, like
Right.
there's criteria that you have to meet, and I feel like I try not to overwhelm them at once because men sometimes too get overwhelmed. I have come to realize that men sometimes feel overwhelmed and they don't know how to say that they're overwhelmed. They just act out or
Yeah.
disappear.
But to me, you have to take the trash out in your own life. So if you really are not mature or ready for a relationship, leave people alone. That's my
Mm-hmm.
thing. I'm not, if I'm gonna hurt you, I don't want to be with you. If I can't help you, let's not. Let's just not. If you feel the need that you need to lie to me, don't talk to me. I'm not
Yeah, and I
offended. I'm
feel
not
like
afraid
that. I feel
to,
like
yeah. And I think that's been my issue ever since I can remember. Like, I don't come, because it's rare that if I like you, I will come on to you, but I don't necessarily come on to people. Not the real ones, maybe like, oh, I'll flirt with you. I'll be playing at a club, but I'm not serious. Like, I'm not going to take you home. So if you really don't want to be serious, leave people alone. Stay single.
yeah,
It's
I
not a
agree.
crime,
No,
but most people now use relationships only to get ahead.
but that's the way society, I hate to say this, but that's the way society has made it be.
Well,
That if
I
you
didn't do
if
it.
it's two of you, if it's two of you, you have a better chance of having a successful business. You have a better chance of owning a home. You have a
Right.
better chance of, having multiple businesses because
But in the
you
midst
can
of
get your
that,
significant
are
other
you really
business.
getting to satisfy the the human within? Are you satisfying your soul, or are you satisfying keeping up with the Joneses? Or I get it. Like, we all want stuff. We want to obtain things. But I want to obtain feeling good. I just want to feel good on the inside. Everything else will fall into alignment. When I feel good, life's great. I've never been in a time in my life that I don't feel great and life outside of me isn't great. The only time I don't feel great is when life outside of me isn't great. And sometimes, because I'm growing and I'm developing, a person is attached to me not feeling great.
Hmm. Yeah, because I feel like also too sometimes people go into relationships like, what can I get out of it instead of what can I like not get out of it? Because you really shouldn't be going into relationships thinking like, what can I get out of being in a relationship with
Yeah.
this person? And I feel like that's
Uh,
where a lot of relationships go south because like some people, and I hate to say it, some men fake it till they make it, and there's nothing wrong with it. But
what you call it?
us women,
Posted. Posted. Tell me the LA
we
slang.
do know when you're faking it till you making it. And if
Yeah.
you're struggling, you're struggling. It's okay, own it. But at the end
Yeah.
of the day, it's like you never know how. Honesty, I would say, if I were to give my son three main of like keys to relationship: honesty, integrity,
Mm-hmm.
and loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
Because with those three things, you're gonna have a great
Response and
relationship.
responsibility. Just,
Yeah, be responsible for your
but did you
actions.
say
Always.
accountability, right? Accountability is
No, I
very
said
important.
no, I said
Integrity.
honesty, integrity, and what was the third? Girl, I
Honesty,
got
integrity. I don't
forget.
know. I'm throwing in
I
accountability.
forgot. That's bad that I just forgot that quick.
Well,
See, that's not
that's
good.
why we recorded it. But this has been a good start.
Hmm.
And yeah, do you have anything else you want to talk about? This is good.
Mm-mm.
You look great.
Thanks. You know what? I really should be doing this. I really should be doing this. I think I might do this, Trisha. Just get a little backdrop.
I think you should too, Megan.
and I could just babble about my situations.
You can hold, because you can hold people's attention. You have gifts, honey. Use your
I should do
gifts.
it. I think I should do it.
I don't know why I look so bright. Am I really this glowy? Do I
Girl, you
shine?
light skin, girl. That's that light skin melanin coming out, girl.
Yeah, this is
No,
not
no,
just
you did
light
not
skin.
just push up your face. No,
Huh?
you didn't do this. No, you did not.
In the mirror. Yes, because I'm free. I don't have any reservations. And that's how I like people to be around me as well. I don't like guarded people because it makes me feel like you have motives. And so
Yes.
these people that would like to engage with me, no, thank you. Lose your motives. Lose your motives. Be free in the moment.
And honesty, like honesty, honesty,
Right.
honesty. Like coming from a woman and being a woman and dealing with men who have lied and who have not lied.
Mm-hmm.
I greatly appreciate the men that kept it honest because it let me know what I was getting myself into.
Right.
And as women, we can handle it. Don't ever
Period.
think that a woman cannot handle the truth because when it may sting us at first and it may be like, whoa, like I wasn't
Right.
ready for that. But you are allowing us to choose to either go
Mm-hmm.
forward or pull back. And that is where I feel like men lack the most in their communication is not coming with integrity and not being honest. So that's why I would instill that in my son because if you're living in honestly and you're living in integrity, then you have nothing to worry about. And if you're genuine and like just be genuine, like at the end of the day, like that's where I feel like men should really focus the most on. When you're dealing with someone and if you see potential, just be honest. If you're dealing with someone and you don't see it going anywhere, just be honest. If you're dealing with someone and you just want to be sexual, just be honest. 9 times out of 10, you may not get the girl that you wanted to smash, but you don't know what she has going on either. And also too, you need to be careful of who you going around smashing
Yeah. I
because
mean,
not everybody
when we
you
get,
should be.
as you get older, though, I think being selective is, it's part of, because, um, you're dealing with your spirit, you're dealing with your soul, you're dealing with
It's
your
a gang
your
of soul
chemical
that we
body.
have.
And if you're not if you're really not designed to be with that person, it's not gonna work. Like it'll
Mhm.
be short lived because you're not. I think we do have a. I think we have a one. I believe we do have that one.
Oh, I
I
feel like there's always somebody. I feel, well, some people's timelines, they're not meant to be in relationships, and some people's timelines are not meant to have children, or
Right.
some people are meant to have one child and that's it. I don't, I don't necessarily feel like there's not necessarily for some people, there is someone out there for everyone because some people are meant to be on this earth for a reason.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like, we don't know our agendas. Spirit and God does. That's it.
Hmm.
We don't know what we may
Timeline. We
yeah,
don't know
we
our
don't know
timeline.
our timeline. So, it might not be in the cards for some people to be tied down. You never know. And some people may really just don't want it.
Right. Well, don't don't reap the benefits of it then.
Yeah, that's why I say honesty and integrity.
Yeah.
You keep
Yeah.
being instead of
You can't straddle the fence. You can't play the fields because we're dealing with spirit. At the end of the day, like we're all trying to reach a place of alignment,
Mm-hmm.
in a way it's like going back home, and
Mm-hmm.
so you want to have that person in your life who can assist you in going there without creating a stumbling block for you,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and thank God if you find that, you
Yeah,
know.
because sometimes people don't. And, all I have to say to
But if you
it,
don't course correct, you don't. You have to
exactly.
correct yourself.
Right.
You
And I
you
feel
cannot keep
like,
saying this is how I am. That is a
yeah,
that's
no, 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 no. You
okay.
need to change how,
Because
if
then
you,
you're a waste to the earth.
exactly. And then your soul will keep coming back, and then
Right.
you're never
And
going to
that's
fulfill
over because you're
that.
supposed to enjoy a good life here, die and go
Mm-hmm.
on about some
Not keep coming back,
not
not
coming
keep
back.
started
Right.
in it. You have
Right.
to live out what you're supposed to do. If you
Right.
feel like, and that's what I was about to say, like, like if there's, this is to the men and women, if there's someone out there that you're interested in and that you feel the potential, don't let them go because when I was really young, like I had a guy that I was dating at the time, and we literally like had so much in common. It was just like out of this world. And now to this day, like I feel like if we would have took it to the next level, that
Oh my
probably would have
God.
been my only partner because we would have got married, had kids, like did the whole shebang. So I,
Mm-hmm.
needless to say, I'm saying like we all need to cherish each other
Right.
for who we have in our life. And everyone comes into your life either for a reason, a lesson, or a season, or they're
Right.
permanent.
Right.
And but only you know that by their actions.
Right.
So
All right. We have a Megan and Trisha talk. One down, many more to go.
oh
Is there
wow.
anything like how you can be contacted, Megan? I know what's your
Oh, my
IG?
Instagram. It's Megan Sarah with an H, WRLD without the O, Megan Sarah World. That's where you can follow me.
Okay.
Um, yeah, there's more in store.
We hope you enjoyed it. I'm
Yeah,
on Instagram, Trisha Nikel, and yeah, we have to talk. We have to open up our line of communication, or else we're going to have bad communities. If that
yeah,
makes
and
sense
I
or
feel like
not,
that's what.
like fathers have to be fathers, mothers have to be
Mhm.
mothers, people have to be people. Everybody needs to take their responsibility. And the way you do that is through open communication. Now, did we grow up where people were not communicating well and we have seen the surmise of it now? Yeah, but we're at the age of accountability, so we do have to open up and communicate.
Yeah, and I feel like COVID may have did that for a lot of people that you have to be accountable for your actions.
Yeah, and
Like
it made you be with your family. You got
mhm.
to
And it
depend on
made you
your
see
family.
what really mattered and what didn't really matter.
Right.
Like that's
Yeah.
something like that you have to like truly like understand. And the only way that probably the reason we were gonna understand it was because of COVID. So
Yep. That's the reason.
yeah.
Because if not, we would have still been following.
We were still just moving, 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 moving,
Yes.
moving, moving,
Not
moving,
slowed down.
not slowing down and not slowing down.
Mm.
Hmm.
So, all right, Megan. Talk to you later. Thank you. This was awesome. Thanks
Thank
everybody for
you.
tuning in. And
Yes, yes. And if there anything you want us to talk about, let us know.
yes, please. We are
Hmm.
here for you.
Hmm.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
How do I end it? Stop.